Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Brewing with Jim.
Yes, good morning. Welcome back.
Welcome back indeed.
You are back.
My name is Joseph Jasper. You could call me the producer, you could call me a co-host. I'm the director of the whole podcast network here at CVCS, but
Jim's encourager.
Yeah, that's my primary job description is keeping Jim on track and keeping Jim encouraged. Everything else kind of falls into place after that.
Well, you thought it was a good idea not to have a track that much. It'd be more spontaneous.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
Over the course of the show, I have steadily encouraged Jim to have fewer and fewer notes prepared and to see where it takes us. One day, I'm just going to walk in and take the clipboard out of your lap and say, let's just go.
Let's just go. We can do that.
No. It is good to be
Well,
prepared.
I want to have something of substance somewhat organized so
Yes.
that the listening is more pleasurable.
Certainly.
Okay.
I think we're finding a good balance.
Well, okay.
I mean, we're 36 episodes into this thing, so I hope we've learned something. But I feel like we have. I feel like we're finding more and more of a rhythm every time. And it's so funny. I don't know about you. I look back in almost let's say chunks of 5 episodes. And every time we hit a 0 or a 5 at the end.
What do you mean? Okay, go ahead.
Let me finish. Right, we did 35 last week. 5 weeks ago was 30.
Number 35.
Exactly, yeah.
Not 35.
What I'm saying is that you have, you and me, I think, have grown in every single one of those increments, where 35 was marginally better than 30, and 30 was better than 25, and 25 was better than 20. And that's never ceased to be true. And I think that that's very cool.
I'm surprised you've given it that much thought, and I haven't given it that much thought.
That's why I'm the producer.
That's why.
And that's why I'm the director of the podcast network.
Yes. Well, you're good at that.
Yeah, thank you. So far, just being literal, I've only introduced myself. I am joined with Jim Brewington here in the podcast studio.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Jim.
Yeah.
May not be morning.
May
to
not
our
be morning.
but
Time references, but good morning,
exactly.
everybody.
This is the show where, of course, we take audience questions and we just discuss them.
Right.
And we try to find some bits of wisdom. We try to encourage our audience. We try to provide a place where their questions can be answered in a way that are just truly helpful. Right. And so we have a question today that comes undoubtedly, I think, from one of our students, which is usually where our questions come from.
Right.
And the reason I say that, and audience, you'll understand why as soon as you hear the question. The question is, how do I begin to pick a college major? And this is a question I remember having when I was in high school. This is a question probably most people around the ages of 16, 17, 18, 19, maybe even 20, 21.
Yeah, but not 50.
Exactly, yeah. This is a question I think that everybody has at a certain point in their life. And we'd love to talk about it today. So, Jim, what's just your gut reaction to this question? And I think we'll go back and forth quite a lot in this episode.
My gut reaction was to think back of how did I choose an undergraduate major?
Yeah.
And
how did colleges work during the Jurassic era? Was that?
Well, there was a lot of dinosaur majors.
Yeah.
And yes.
Everyone was a paleontologist.
Everybody.
And there was a hunter-gatherer major. No, I'm kidding.
Plants
anyway,
now extinct.
Pardon I have a quota of one age joke per episode. It's done 4 minutes in.
I don't believe it's done. No, I am not sure that's done. When I was... Well, first of all, I didn't want to go to college. I decided after high school that I was finished, and that was a decision that was made on the spur of the moment, like the night before I had to go register for college, and it was summer school. We were registering for summer school at Texas Tech, a friend of mine, and we came to the he came to the house to pick me up in the morning, and we were going to drive over to the university and register. And I went out and told him I don't want to go to college. And he got out of the car and came around to the passenger side, opened the car, and shoved me in and said, "We're going, and you're going to go to college."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Oh, okay. And I got in and went. Didn't have to pick a major that day, but I had to pick a major soon, and I had to make a decision on what I wanted. I pretty much knew what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew what I was good at.
Yeah.
And my suggestion, first of all, before we even go further with that off-the-wall story, is pick something that you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Pick something you're interested
Yeah.
in. And it's going to be more fun to study it.
Yes.
It's going to be more interesting to you. Yeah, it's rigorous. Yes, you have to take lots of classes.
Yes, of course.
In that one particular field. But take it. And I would say take it without a goal in mind. I majored in psychology.
Interesting.
I wanted to be a clinical psychologist and work with, I wanted to work with mental illness and disorders and so forth.
Sure.
So I took psychology, but you have to study all of the different parts of psychology in an undergraduate situation that you may not be interested in. And there's experimental psychology where you rat runners through mazes. And I had to take math classes and statistics, and I to this day don't know what a standard deviation is. But I had to take, but then we got to abnormal psychology, physiological psychology, how the brain works, and so forth. Okay, I picked the major because I was interested in it, and I didn't really have a career goal. I just said a few minutes ago that I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. That was a fuzzy goal.
Sure.
I didn't really even know what they did all day.
Sure.
I would say, number one, pick something you're interested in.
Yeah. I would mirror that very strongly. For me, the best advice I could probably give is to start with what are the things that you are interested in. And I like, in other words, I'm saying I start in the same place as you.
Yes.
Like my bullet point number one is basically the same idea. The way that I would have worded that and the way that I've had in my head is to analyze what are the things in your free time that you are drawn into.
Very good.
What are the things that you naturally find yourself curious about and wanting to learn more about? And then if there is a career path in that area, it makes the whole thing easier.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
And you can't really figure out what the career path is going to be unless you're an expert at that kind of thing, because the lists of careers that are available is more extensive than anyone has imagined.
And to tack on a big point to what you just said, many of the jobs that current students will have one day haven't been invented yet.
That's true. There is a career center at the local community college here.
Yes.
I've been in there many times. Those people are experts on looking at your preferences, looking at your talents, looking at your inclinations. And if money were no object, what kind of work would you do all your life just because you enjoy doing it? Yes. And I saw the books over there and became fascinated with the list of things that are available. Yeah. Accordion tuner. There are accordion tuners. I guess they're really busy in September with all the Oktoberfest coming up.
Exactly. Yes. And I wonder with weather changing, humidity, I bet those accordions.
Oh, you have to think about all of that. Yeah. Yes, I'm sure there are nerds who sit around and wonder about. Yeah. So, yes, pick something that you're interested in, and how do you determine it? And you just said this. What would you do? What do you do in your spare time? What draws your ears and eyes to somebody talking about something, or a podcast, or a YouTube video or something? What catches you? Now, one of the limitations is what majors are available at the school I'm going to. Sure. So get a list of all those majors, because it may not be exactly what you want on the list, but if you're going to go to that school, you're confined. You're restricted to that list. That's right. So that's number one. Yes. Number two, pick something that you think you could learn. We are all wired differently by God, with different talents, different aptitudes, different abilities to process information
Yeah.
and so forth. Pick something that you think you could learn. I did not pick math because I just really struggled.
I didn't pick chemistry.
Chemistry was, yes. I still cannot balance
No idea.
An equation with valences and all
Yeah,
of
no,
But-
nothing.
Well, it was easier for me because when I took chemistry, the periodic table had only 8 elements on it.
Hey, my arms are up. That was not me.
No. That was
quote.
my own age joke. Yeah. Okay. Pick something that you think you can. You think you can learn. Here's a thought that I think I never had until recently, and that is, if I wanted to be the world's expert on some topic, what would it be?
Yeah.
What would you?
I think about this a lot.
You do?
I do.
Yeah.
This is a thought exercise I've had before.
So,
which is
tailoring and seams and buttons. And
not me.
No, me either. No.
I have thought before about, okay, there's just so many people in the world. There's over 8 billion people living on Earth today. But there are also a lot of different things that people can do and that people can be good at. So there's a very real sense that every person in the world is in the top 20%, top 10% of something.
I'm not completely following.
In other
you
words,
mean in being an expert in an area?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, Jim Brewington, you are in the what percentile of
I'm not going to know the answer to this.
Of ASL, aptitude and experience are you in? I would wager you are probably in the 98th percentile or above.
Maybe by experience and by ongoing education. And,
that's what it takes, though.
I was 30 years of a professional
that's what
interpreting.
It takes, right?
Yeah, okay.
I bet everybody is a 90th percentile in something in the world.
I see.
Everybody.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So what is...
More so now, yes.
What is for the listeners, audience, whoever's paying attention to this, what is your 90th percentile or above in the world, right? For me, it might be running a podcast network or some specific elements of education, school leadership. This is a random thing, I don't even know if you know this, I have a lot of experience in 3D modeling on a computer. And
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I have interpreted 3D modeling classes.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Yes. I know nothing about it.
Sure.
I can interpret it.
Yeah.
I do know something about it. I know enough about it to know what you're talking about.
Right.
So.
Yeah. When you consider how many, again, 8 billion people in the world, to get into the 90th percentile means you only have to be better than, you only have to be worse than whatever 10% of 8 billion is, which is still a very big number. So,
it is. Well, there are a lot of people in countries that don't have the opportunities
That's true.
to follow their interests.
That's right.
They're too busy surviving,
yes.
Looking for food, looking for any kind of sustenance that would maintain their life and their environment. That's true. We
Absolutely.
have a lot of places like that. You and I, sitting in Southern California and growing up in the United States, have many more opportunities.
We absolutely
So we've got an 8th grader, a 9th grader, a junior, senior high school person listening to this right now, and they're wondering, well, how do I pick the major? And the things that we have just said apply to you even if you've never thought of these things before.
That's right.
We're just trying to stimulate and get your engine going so that you can think about some of these things.
That's absolutely
right. Now, I think there are some things that come to my mind that some factors that we should not consider.
Okay.
Do not pick a major because you think it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I picked a minor that way.
Yeah.
We were required to have a minor. English was easy for me. Grammar, I had it mastered, I think, by 3rd grade. Very easy for me. I forgot that you have to read a ton of books in order to pass it.
That's right.
Okay. Don't pick a major because you think it's easy.
every major is going to be hard.
Yes, it will be.
Like, people should just know that. Anyway,
But it's going to be hard, and it's going to be fun if you pick something you're interested in.
Yes.
So it's going to be hard, and it's going to be miserable if you're not interested in it.
That's right.
Don't pick a major because you think you can make a lot of money with it.
Nope.
Now, we have to make a living.
Yes.
I understand that. But pick the major that interests you, not because you think you can make a lot of money with it, and then get some expert to tell you, when you become really good at this, this is how you make the money with it. And there are people out there who can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick a major because my friends are taking it. It's their...
Such a great,
No, you don't want to be in a class just because you have friends who are going to be in the class. We have that here at the high school. That people take classes and they take a particular section of a class so I can sit with my friend. And my thought is, don't sit with your friend. That's going to be a distraction. Sit with somebody you don't know. Even better, sit with somebody you don't like. Sure. And then you won't be interacting with it. Okay. There are people who will suggest to you, listeners, how you should pick a major, what you should pick as your major. That would be, what would you say, your parents.
Sure.
Academic counselors sometimes do this, and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
They really don't know what major is for you. There are friends who will tell you what you should pick. I would avoid all of that information and go by what Joseph and I have just said.
I have a really funny story about that point specifically in my life. So when we were in high school, probably either sophomores or juniors, we took I don't know what the term is. It's almost like a personality test, but it is determined to give you an answer of a suggested career path.
Oh, that's the Cooter preference test is one of those.
Is that a thing?
Yes,
okay.
It's all green, by the way. Green in all the ink print is green.
Really?
Test. And would you rather ride a horse or paint a picture?
Yeah.
That whole thing, and there are pages of those. Yeah. It's the Cooter preference test.
Okay. Thank you for naming it. I didn't know the name of it.
If it still exists, it probably does, or some sister or brother test like it. Yeah.
I took that as someone in high school, and Jim, you know me well. You know what I like and what I'm good at. Can you begin to even guess what my result was when I was in high school?
Well, let's see. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4", 6'3".
And how much do you weigh about?
I don't know, 220, something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. And so the preference test came out that you should be a...
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't 6'4", 220 in high school, to be clear.
Oh, okay.
When I was in high school...
Well, I was going to say that the preference test probably told you should be a jockey.
Okay.
Yeah, and you race horses. Uh-huh. I give you that because I wouldn't go by the preference test.
I would not either. That's my advice. So I am obviously I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I have a hand in school leadership. I run a podcast network. What the test told me that I was best suited for at the time was to be a city bus driver.
No.
Yeah.
A city?
Like a public transit bus driver.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of answers you could have put down that would have led anybody to think that.
No idea.
I can't imagine what kind of answers anyone would put down that would lead to a city bus driver.
Why is that a
thing?
Answer?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And besides, if you were the best in the world, who would know? Or who would care?
Maybe your shift manager or the mechanic. I don't know. My point is to mirror yours. The aptitude tests are a big old shot in the dark. And I think, I genuinely believe that you could take that test twice, a month or two apart, and just get completely different answers or completely different results.
The tests are tools that psychologists use, mostly psychologists, but use the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. 512 questions on that puppy, and you get to the end of that, and they will tell you your sexual orientation, your religious tendencies,
Wow.
your math, and all these things about your personality and what you have to deal with. And you take the test again, and it'll be different. I'm not trashing the MMPI. But I wouldn't put my life in there. I wouldn't guide my life by one of those tests.
It's almost like I wonder if the results are more valid if you take it regularly and then you get like an aggregate result. But no one's gonna do that. This is just my own idea. I think to wrap up this question, there's one thing that's been sitting in the back of my head since you said it a little bit earlier in the show.
What's that?
And you said you would not recommend picking a major based on a job or a position, or how was the way that you worded that?
I'm not sure exactly how I worded it.
One of the first bullet points.
Don't pick a major because you think you can make a lot of money with the major.
No, it wasn't the money thing.
It wasn't that.
It was before that. It was one of your first bullet points. You mentioned something about almost not having a specific job.
Don't have a career in mind because you don't know what your career is going to be.
That's what it is.
I have said on other podcasts, or at least one other episode, and I'll say it on this one, don't follow your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your talents and your abilities, and then make a dream out of what God has given you.
Yeah.
We have callings on our life that I'm certain that God has given to us by the way He has structured us.
Yeah.
And those talents will be our calling. My reading in the Bible is from Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ. I am called to be an apostle.
Yeah.
That's what he said. We're not called to a place.
Yeah.
We're called to a way. Mm-hmm. We're called to be what he has designed us to be.
Yeah.
And we will be that no matter where we are, where we go, what our career is. We're still that. If I am called to be a teacher and evidence leans in that direction, then I'm a teacher whether I'm 6 years old or 90 years old. And it doesn't matter what my job is. I'm still teaching people. I'm still instructing people. It's the way I was wired to be. Figure out what you're wired to be. And then put the major, pick a major that will lead you in that direction.
Yes.
Plus your interests will be there also.
That's right.
The interests and your calling, the way you, your talents. I'm not quite sure how else
that's fantastic.
Put those together and you're there.
That is the best summation of this episode so far, and I hesitate to even say what I was going to say because that's such a great crescendo and a place to end.
Okay, well, up to you.
You're
the producer.
All I was going to say, I'll do this quickly, is in my experience, the opposite was actually true, and I think it's not a thing that's transferable. And so I guess my warning to the audience is I think I just got super, super blessed. I knew as a junior in high school that I wanted to be specifically a history or a Bible teacher, very specifically. Okay. And I actually knew that I wanted to be a teacher at Whittier Christian High School. I put all my eggs in that basket.
Whoa.
And as a junior, literally when I was 17, and it never wavered for the next 5 years. And I started doing that exact thing when I graduated college.
Did you help me understand what was there was a fascination with history?
Yes.
Was there a fascination with Bible?
Yes.
Okay, so you had both of those interests.
Yep.
Did you spend your time in studying those areas?
Yeah. When one of the first points I said today was find a job that, brings you into the things that you would spend your time in anyway. Mm-hmm. I think I was more of a peculiar kid growing up because I didn't.
I'm certain of it.
I did watch a lot of cartoons, but I was also watching a lot of History Channel. When I had free time, I would just browse Wikipedia about different people and wars and events and things, and reading the Bible, stuff like that. Learning that's why I feel like my advice isn't transferable, and that's why that's why I probably shouldn't have started even saying any of this, because what you had said was the better summation. What my point was going to be was that for me personally, having a job in mind as well as a career, and for me even a destination, like a workplace, it all worked out, and I don't think that happens for almost anybody.
It may be rare, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the advice that I can pull and that could hopefully transfer out of that is that I taught Bible and history only for about 5 or 6 years. And then I transitioned in my role pretty significantly, and I don't teach Bible or history anymore. So there is still what you said, and this is where I would emphatically land as well. It's about learning a way of being. It's more important the kind of employee you are than where you are working or what you are doing.
Yeah, okay.
It is more about how you carry yourself, how you display the love of Christ, how you become like Jesus in your work, than what the work actually is.
Well, thank you. You just reflected accurately exactly what I was trying to get across. But the point that I can't get out of my head right now is what you just said. You put "when I was a child" and Wikipedia in the same sentence.
Yeah.
And are you kidding? When I was a child, they were inventing the encyclopedia. And we had to go. We went to libraries and we opened up books, and we had an ark of open books around us on the desk in front of us. And when I was a child, Wikipedia. All right.
Let's get to our second section. This is the surprise Jim segment.
Do you have any of these questions that aren't about me?
No.
Whoa.
They're all about you. The show's called Brewing with Jim. It's not called Brewing with Ideas.
Oh, okay. All right.
Unless
here we go.
Unless you wanted to rebrand this whole thing. I don't know.
Not now.
Okay. I mean, we're 36 episodes into this thing. Jim, the question, but audience, this is the part where I ask Jim a question. He doesn't know what's coming. It's really fun.
For you.
For me.
Yeah.
The question today is a little apt. It's a little bit on topic given the question that we started the show with. Jim, tell us about a teacher that impacted or inspired you growing up.
Positively or negatively? Let me think.
Let's go positively.
Let's go positively.
Yeah.
Well, that would be Mrs. Ushry, 8th grade English. And she was, she said one sentence to me after we had, or about me, after we had written some essays or, I don't know, some composition.
And it was, "You idiot."
It was, we had to read these to the class. And one of them, so I read mine, and it was good. I mean, I knew it was good. This is good.
Yeah.
And she looked at me from the front of the class. Actually, I remember it so vividly. It was the side of the class where she was standing.
Sure.
And she said, "Jim, you need to become a writer." And I went, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I have never forgotten that. And I am a writer.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me. Another one that influenced me strongly on one particular day was an English professor at Texas Tech University, and she was a composition instructor also. We had to write things. Her name was Mrs. Major, and she had been in... No, her name was Mrs. Minor.
Oh.
Okay, there's a difference. And she had been, I'd forgotten this, and she had been in the Marines. And her rank was major, and she was major minor. And I am not, that fits right in with this episode. And we all turned in our essays, and she, only one person passed, everybody else got an F. I thought mine was pretty good. Maybe I got an F+. But And she stood up if you had made any kind of a mistake. It was just a lesson in being careful with what
Sure.
you say. She said somebody put down hot water heater in there. It's not a hot water heater. It's just a water heater. If anything, it's a cold water heater.
Yeah.
Because if the water was already okay. She was
That's
the one.
awesome.
Maybe I've mentioned this before. Don't begin a sentence with "I don't think." I don't think I'm going to town. You start the sentence with "I do think." I do think I'm not going to town. All right. Fix a flat.
Interesting.
In your car. The flat is already fixed. You repair the flat. It's fixed you're not going anywhere. It's fixed to the ground right there.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
All this seems a little trivial, but there were another one was rooftop. There's no such thing as a rooftop. There's the roof, which is the top, or there is the top. But rooftop does okay. All of that, and I don't agree with 100% of that, but I can tell you, it changed the way I think about language.
Yeah.
It made me analyze my sentences as I was speaking them.
Yeah.
And most people, I think, just talk the way they have heard other people talk without thinking about the elements of
Yes.
it. Okay. She changed my life for the good.
Mm-hmm.
She was strict and she was stern and she was humorless and she was all the things I don't particularly care for
Sure.
in a person. But that affected me. I'm trying to think if there were there certainly were others. Those two stick out.
Yeah. I want to take, while this question's on the table, a moment to shout out one of my own teachers from high school. Mr. Dennis Morrow. He was he's a Bible teacher at Whittier Christian.
Okay.
And he's retiring at the end of this year. He's a couple weeks away from retirement. So as we shout him out, huge congratulations to him. He's about to rest and be with grandchildren, all the time and stuff like that. I had him as a freshman, and I went to public school before going to Whittier Christian. So he was my first Bible teacher in my life. Okay. Super sweet man, hilarious, incredibly wise, just everything you'd want in a Bible teacher. Okay. I didn't have him my junior
hilarious
year.
Bible teacher.
I didn't have him my sophomore year. I had him again my junior year for Bible 11, and then it was in that class, Bible 11, when I had my revelation I mentioned earlier in this episode of I want to do what he's doing. I want to be a Bible teacher, because the amount of energy I got from being in his class, I wanted to replicate, and I saw myself in him every single day. And then my senior year, where this really just kind of took off, by the time I was a senior, I was set, like, this is what I want to be doing. So I managed to become one of his TAs.
Okay.
And I was a TA in one of his freshman Bible classes during my senior year. And I turned into just like probably one of the most active TAs that anybody's ever had.
Active.
In terms of like, I was not just great. And typically when you have a TA, you throw multiple choice questions that need to get graded at them.
Oh, okay.
To like, busy work.
Yeah.
But I would talk to him often about like what the plan was and like how he's thinking about developing lessons. And then he would actually occasionally let me, almost as if I was a student teacher, like the experience that I would get in college, he would let me teach lessons to that first period freshman class.
So he taught you how to teach.
Exactly.
So first of all, he inspired you.
Yep.
I want to be you.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
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 And I don't want to be that one over there who's boring and horrible and humorless.
Exactly.
But I want to be you.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to be you, so he said, let me teach you how to be.
So my whole senior year, I was with him first period, freshman Bible as a TA. And then I had my own senior Bible class with another teacher. But I was with him ultimately then 3 of my 4 years of high school.
Nice.
Anyway, so huge shout out to him. Again, congratulations, Dennis. Love you so much. And then I got to work alongside him when I was an employee at Whittier Christian for those 6 years. So anyway, That's awesome. That's an episode.
That's a wrap.
Audience, thank you as always for listening. As always, we want to give you the opportunity to reach out to us. There is a clear and open method of doing that, and that is to email us at brewingwithjim@gmail.com.
Yes.
We check that email daily.
I do.
And as people send us messages or send us questions, we get to see them, we get to reply and keep in touch. So if you are listening to this show and you have not emailed us before, we would be so honored to hear from you.
Yes.
If you would introduce yourself.
Well, it helps us to know.
It does.
Yes.
It truly does. So yeah, that's our pitch at the end of every episode. But I think that wraps us up.
Thanks
Jim,
for listening.
Thank you all so much, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.
The topics that are covered and the answers that are offered during episodes of Brewing with Jim are designed to mine the wisdom attained from a life of pastoral ministry and care. They do not constitute professional or clinical training or expertise in the areas of counseling or mental health. CVCS and its podcast network want to provide a platform for the discipleship of our community. Brewing with Jim is our attempt to foster that environment in a format that is accessible for everyone to participate in. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during the show are the speaker's own, and they may or may not represent the views, thoughts, or opinions of Capistrano Valley Christian Schools or its faculty. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. Capistrano Valley Christian Schools is a Christian JK-12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Be sure to check out, subscribe to, and leave a review of this show and the other shows on our network on your podcast player of choice. Doing so supports the school community in a multitude of ways. For more information about the CVCS Podcast Network or any of our other shows, check out cvcs.org or email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the whole network, this is Mr. Jasper saying thank you again for listening and stay tuned for more.